our funders have had a lovely lunch, haven't we? And
Still working on it.
and let's hear it for the once again the fabulous food. This time from the New Year Cafe. And thank you to the incredible volunteers in the kitchen and serving food, and this is just fabulous. So thank you very, very, very much. My name is Jim Blake. I have the great privilege to be the moderator for the funders panel, and moderating the funders panel is a little easier than herding cats. Today we have 5 funders. Representing the Ontario Trillium Foundation, the Canadian Heritage, and the Ontario Arts Council. We're going to have them come up and sort of one at a time talk about their funding in relationship to their funding body and how it relates to rural and remote communities. And then we'll have time for questions after we hear from our panelists. This is being live streamed, so when you call out a question, it will go out to the world. Our first panelist is Liz Forsberg, and Liz is a strategy lead with the Ontario Trillium Foundation. And Liz, welcome to the microphone.
Hello, everybody. What is it? The first weeks or you there?
Yeah, but I can also do it here.
That's not a clicker.
That is not a clicker.
All right, I will just give you, this is my signal. So demanding. Hi, everybody. I'm really, really glad to be here. This is my first time in Cobalt, my first time on the traditional territories of the Timiskaming First Nation. And it's been such a pleasure to meet many of you already, and I look forward to connecting with many more over the course of today and tomorrow. So I've been at the Ontario Trillium Foundation for a year and a half, and as was mentioned, I'm strategy lead at the foundation. So I'm a strategy lead in our Inspire People action area, which is the action area named what we hope to achieve through investments in arts, culture, and heritage in the province. And my focus is very external, in particular around mobilizing knowledge and supporting the sector to mobilize knowledge for greater impact. So I'll flip to the next slide. Can I do this? I like to move around. So I'm just going to do I only have time for a brief high-level overview of some of our programs and some of the work that we're doing, but I am at 5:15 today doing a workshop at the theater on evidence in the Inspired People action area. So if you are thinking about applying to a GROW grant at OTF, I would highly recommend that you come to this workshop, and I'd love to talk to you more. So this is an outline or an overview of our programs. We have, most of you are probably familiar with our community investments, which is our seed grants, GROW grants, capital grants, and a new granting stream called Transform. And these are community-based initiatives that are helping to build vibrant and healthy communities throughout Ontario. We also have the Youth Opportunities Fund, which operates a bit separately. Are there any folks here who've applied to the Youth Opportunities Fund? Nora has Manifesto. So this is the Youth Opportunities Fund, and actually the folks at Near North Mobile Media Lab, for all those young leaders that you're cultivating in communities across Northern Ontario, this is an opportunity for them to take the lead on their own projects. So this is grants and capacity building supports to youth-led grassroots groups and community-based organizations. And there's a particular focus on Black youth and Indigenous youth leading initiatives. We also offer what is called services to the community. It's a really kind of, we got to rework that title. It's pretty bland. It's kind of like oatmeal. But this is capacity building and related supports to the public benefit sector in Ontario. So it's not just applicants and grantees, but it's anybody working in the public benefit sector. And if you've been to any of our outreach sessions lately, you may have attended one of those capacity building workshops. So this year we're focusing on supporting financial literacy, which I know as somebody who used to be an ED at a community arts organization for 7 years, when I first entered that role, I needed support around financial literacy for sure. There is storytelling for impact, and if I look at my notes, I can tell you the other things that we are focusing on there that it's taking me too long to find my notes. So I can talk to you later about that. The Local Poverty Reduction Fund is showcasing and evaluating innovative local community-driven solutions to poverty. So those are kind of our 4 main areas at the foundation, our 4 main program areas. The next slide, please. As part of our services to the community, we've just launched a new online platform for sharing knowledge, for networking. So I know there was talk this morning about how SPARC is doing that work. This is for the public benefit sector as a whole in Ontario. So here we really want to support this is a space for the community to share about what innovative things they're doing or what issues they're encountering, have discussions that are relevant to the work that you're doing in making Ontario more vibrant and healthy place, making your communities more vibrant and healthy places to live. And over time, we're also building resources that are featured on the Knowledge Center. So I've been working just on a series of webinars on evaluating the impact of the arts. 2 of them have happened so far, and they will be recordings on the Knowledge Center. And I'm also doing one on this coming Tuesday with the Arts for Social Change project. This is Judith Marcuse's project out of UC, so some of you might be interested in that webinar. But I would really encourage you to check out the Knowledge Center and think of that as a place to continue some of the conversations that are getting started here. Next one. So these are the types of grants that we make. We have seed grants, which are up to $75,000 for starting projects at the idea or the conceptual stage. Grow grants are building on the success of a proven model or program. And so that's up to $750,000 over the course of 3 years. And I just heard a wonderful presentation by Near North Mobile Media Lab about their Grow grant. And so it's great to hear about that and their approach to building that project. It takes a lot of time and effort to prepare a Grow grant application. We encourage everybody to call us ahead of time when you're thinking about doing this. Capital grants are broadening access to and improving community spaces. We know that there's a huge need for repairs done to arts and culture facilities across the province, so we're trying to address some of that gap there. And then there's a new Transform granting stream. So some of you may be familiar with the collective impact granting stream that we had for a bit. This is replacing that, and this is all about tackling complex community issues, creating lasting change. So these are systems change issues. This is an example is that we're investing in right now through collective impact, but it is something that would fit the Transform stream, is looking at the issue of precarious work in the arts and culture sector, at better understanding that problem and coming up with solutions to address that precarity that the majority of us experience working in the arts and culture sector. Next slide, please. So this is what we lovingly refer to as the placemat, and I actually have paper copies for anybody who would like one. I was going to try and slip them on your table so that you could eat your lunch on them, but I don't actually have enough for everybody in this room. Not everybody may want one. But I'm going to leave them up here. I have them in English et en français aussi. And this is our investment strategy that we launched in 2015. I don't have time to go into it, but it's an outcomes-based model of investing. So what you see, those circles on the top are the action areas that we are investing in. They are named for the change that we want to see over the course of the next 10 years. So we aspire to achieve active people, connected people, green people, inspired people, promising young people, and prosperous people. I know, I am the lead for inspired people, but I will say that arts organizations are funded in every single action area that we invest in. SPARC is funded through Connected People, the SPARC, and several arts organizations funded through Promising Young People. The boxes below are the priority outcomes that we hope to achieve through our investments. And the white boxes below that are the grant results. So anybody applying to a seed grant or a grow grant must align their project with one grant result. And these are outcomes that we want to, the grant results are what you are responsible for achieving through your grant. On the top, those boxes are the Canadian Index of Wellbeing indicators that we as a foundation are measuring over the course of the 10 years to see what impact our investments will have had over the course of 10 years. So we invest over $130 million per year in the nonprofit sector in Ontario, and so over 10 years that will be over $1 billion. So we want to see what change we were able to support through that investment. Next slide. This is just a close-up of the Inspired People Action area. Just very quickly, we've identified 2 priority outcomes. Better quality programming and infrastructure to experience culture, heritage, and the arts, and more people connect with culture, heritage, and the arts. And one thing that's really important when you're looking at this, when you're looking at applying for funding through the Inspired People Action area, our goal is to move people from passive audience members to active participants in the creative process. So we know that over the long term, people become and stay engaged in arts activities. Research tells us that when people engage in a participatory way, when actively involved in creation, they are more likely to stay engaged in the arts and culture over the long term. So we're really focused on that. So under this first priority outcome, what first grant result, arts, culture, and heritage have appropriate spaces. That's the grant result for the capital stream. The second grant result is skills and knowledge are transferred to the next generation of artistic leaders. So we know that we can improve the quality of programming around arts, culture, and heritage if we ensure that skills and knowledge are being transferred to the next generation of artists, of community artists, of arts administrators, facilities managers. So that's where we're really focused on there. And then under the second priority outcome, the first grant result, access to arts-based learning opportunities and compelling artistic, cultural, and heritage experiences. This is where we're investing in arts education, arts-based learning could be in school settings or community settings. The key to that is participatory arts engagement, so hands-on art making. The second grant result, people are engaged in community-based arts creation. To some, if they're wondering, well, what's the distinction there? This is about the co-creation of artistic work between professional artists and community members. So it's not just arts-based learning, but they're actually producing an artistic work together that is then being showcased. And the third grant result is preservation and animation of cultural heritage. And the key here is the preservation and animation. So this is about actively animating cultural heritage. So things that we that have received funding under that grant result are Indigenous language programs rooted in the land. We have some interesting examples of Indigenous programs that are engaging in traditional Indigenous cultural teachings. We've seen heritage groups animating their history, involving young people in recreating historical events in their communities. So it's engagement pieces too. Next slide. What makes for a good submission to OTF? Very quickly, it fits with the grant stream, so it fits with the intention of a grow grant, a seed grant, capital grant, or transform. It fits with the priority outcome and the grant results. It fits well with the grant metric. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's what gets measured, the head count that gets measured. For Grow Grants, there's really good evidence of the effectiveness of your approach. There's complete information. It complies with OTF policy, so it's really, really important to have a look at our policies just so you understand those before you apply, and leaving enough time to do the grant. So sometimes we get calls, the week before where somebody's starting a grant application, but they take a long time, and this morning Holly said it took 4 months of sleepless nights and a lot of coffee to put together an OTF application. It takes a while. Next slide. So there are many ways for you to get support, and I had a conversation this morning, and I was talking with somebody who didn't know that, and actually a lot of people still don't know that you can actually talk to somebody at OTF now. Yay, that's really helpful. So we have a whole team of program managers who just do outreach. They are scattered across the province doing information sessions, they do webinars, but you can also call our support center at the number down there and book a coaching call with the program manager. So you just call that 1-800 number and say, hello, I would like to book a coaching call with the program manager. And then they set you up with an hour-long coaching call, and you can run through your ideas. If you applied for a grant and you didn't get it, call and book a coaching call, because you can get feedback on your application. You can find out if maybe it wasn't a good fit with a stream, or your evidence wasn't strong enough, or it was actually really good, but it was sitting just below the funding threshold. It's very high demand for a grant, so it is very competitive. But other ways, we have a lot of resources on our website. So you can call the support center. We have in-person info sessions, webinars, coaching. You can follow us on social media. We do the occasional Twitter chat as well. Some upcoming learning opportunities. We have on the Knowledge Center, and I have postcards with the information about the Knowledge Center. There is an online e-learning evaluation course. Highly recommend this course. And this coming Tuesday, I'm also hosting a webinar evaluating arts for social change and community engaged arts projects with the Arts for Social Change project and a professor at UBC. Next. I have 2 minutes because I'm at the end of my slideshow here. I think there might be 1 or 2 more slides left. You can find out about information sessions that are happening in your neck of the woods by checking out our events calendar for more information. Next slide. And we also have a newsletter that just started, we launched it a few months ago, but this is a really great way of staying updated about what we have going on. And I assure you, it only comes out once a month, so it's not going to clog your inbox. But really, this is the best way to stay informed about what it is that we have going on. And I don't know if there's another slide. Oh, there is. This is important. This is the last one. So these are deadlines. We have one deadline for each investment stream every year. So that's important to keep in mind. And the seed deadline passed. It was in February. The grow deadline just passed. It was in May. Note here that in order to apply for an OTF grant, your organization does have to be registered. So it's a 2-step process. And this is actually, we're not trying to do this to be a pain in the butt to you. This is so that we can make sure your organization is eligible and you don't go through the work of putting 4 months worth of work into an application and finding out your organization actually isn't eligible because you have 3 board members who are all your family members or something like that. So this is very important. You have to register your organization first, and you do have to keep it updated every year with updated financial statements and updated board members. The next deadline is the capital deadline, July the 25th, and our program managers are starting to go out across the province now to do information sessions. And then transform. The capital deadline is in August, but you need to register your organization by July. And transform deadline is in November. And I'm going to pass the mic now.
Thanks, Liz. That was impressive. A lot of information in a very short period of time. She set the bar for the next team. So now we have a tag team. I guess more on sign. What's that? Okay. So a tag team, and it's Maura Broadhurst, who is the cross-sectoral associate officer. What a title! Means that she does everything. And we have Nora Sagarwala. Oh, I didn't say that right, did I? Okay. Who is the owner of Lamb Shop and also is responsible for touring and audience development. So please welcome Maura to the mic. They're from the Ontario Arts Council.
Thank you. Merci. Bonjour à tous. Hello, everybody. I echo Mrs. thoughts about what a privilege it is to be with you all today. This is my first SPARC Symposium, hopefully not my last. And I also feel so happy to be here on this territory with you. So thank you for the generosity you're feeling. I'm going to give you some general information about OAC granting, and then Nora will give you some specifics about a couple of programs that are probably most relevant to all of you here in this room. But yes, me and my title. As cross-sectoral associate officer, I have two main roles. One is I run the art service organizations programs that include the community arts councils. Many of you are in the room here today. But also, I float around wherever there is a need in different programs. I'll step in and help out. But the great thing about that is it means I have worked in almost every section of the music and dance and arts education and touring and right now I'm doing some visual arts programs as well as some of our awards that we give out at the Ontario Arts Council. So I am more than happy to be your first point of entry and can direct you appropriately afterwards if that's appealing to you. Okay, so just very quickly, the Ontario Arts Council is the arts funding agency of the province of Ontario. We are within the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sports, and our budget comes directly from them. And then our mandate is to support and ensure a vital arts community, so supporting artists and arts organizations. But the other part of our mandate is to ensure that Ontarians have access to the great arts in this province. So it's sort of the two sides that we're always thinking about. We are in the midst of our strategic plan right now called Vital Arts Public Value. And within that, we have outlined sort of 4 areas that our granting programs are structured under. We'll get into them in a minute, but we've also identified our priority groups that you can see here: artists of color, deaf artists, and artists with disabilities. Sorry, I don't know what this is. Francophone artists, Indigenous artists, new generation artists, which by OAC definition is 18 to 30-year-olds, and then artists living in regions outside of Toronto. The reason why they have been identified is that for whatever reasons, and there are different reasons for the different groups, they traditionally, historically, and probably currently have different kinds of barriers to access grants and support from the province arts agency. So we specifically have identified them. We have programs specific to these groups, but we also just think about them a lot in all the jury rooms when we think about how these communities are being engaged when they're proposing projects, what kind of artists are being employed, all that kind of thing. We can talk about that more if you have questions. Okay, but probably the most common and easiest way, if you're able to sort of get a little bit of information about the OAC, is to go to our website. It's all there. I would say it's probably the best place to start, again, if you're able, just to get a sense of what's there. So you can see this, if you go to the grants tab at the top, this is what gets pulled down. And there's a number of ways that you can try to find out what would be relevant for you in your arts practice or the organization or groups you work with. So you might think, well, I'm a dancer, so I'm just going to go to dance. And that's very appropriate. You'll see all the programs that fund dance in the province. But you might be thinking, Well, actually, what I'm more interested in is the kind of activity that I am doing, because I do it in different ways with different artists and different disciplines. So maybe it's about you are creating and presenting, or you are building your audiences, at which point you will call Nora. But it'll take you to all the programs that support that kind of activity. Then there's also, you can go in as if you're a francophone artist. You might want to see what programs are there specifically for you. The programs that are specific to our priority groups does not mean that you can only go up to those. You can apply as a francophone artist. You can apply to anything that's open, as long as you're eligible in other ways. But you can see what's specific for francophone artists or Indigenous artists or whatnot. And what's important about those programs is that they are juried by peers. So the Indigenous arts programs will be juried by Indigenous artists. The francophone art programs by francophone artists, etc. Okay, and then down on the right-hand side, that's where you find all the policies, the general information about how the processes work, all of that kind of stuff, should you want to look at that. However, the other thing you can do is call us, and of course that is another very, very welcome way to do it. This is Olga, our receptionist, very friendly, very knowledgeable. She'd love to hear from you. You can, of course, also call any of us directly. I'm here with Nora today, but we're really here on behalf of a team of colleagues, all of whom would be very happy to talk to you. Otherwise, we have to do our paperwork. So it's much more enjoyable to have a conversation with you about your arts preference. But if nothing else, that's what I want you to remember, is that is why we're there, is to answer your questions and to help find the best fit for what you're trying to do. This is a very sort of general structure of the applications. Most applications will have some questions you need to answer. You're going to have to give almost always some examples of the artwork that you're talking about or that you've done in the past, if it's relevant to the project that you're proposing. You almost always have to provide a budget. And sometimes there's other documents that you're going to upload, resumes or artist bios or maybe letters of confirmation, that kind of thing. So these tend to be the kind of elements that are in most programs, but it is important that you look and see what's required, because there are slight differences program to program. And we do have a fund if you have an accessibility issue that is a barrier for filling in these application forms. There is a fund available, so call us and ask us about that if you need help. And then most of our project programs go through this process of being assessed based on the artistic merit, the impact, and the viability. And those are equally weighed in the assessment process. So it might be a fantastic artistic idea that you have, everybody loves it, it's clearly wonderful, but your budget doesn't make any sense, it's not balanced, or there's errors in it, and perhaps the timeline that you propose doesn't seem realistic. So all of those things are going to be considered in the assessment process. The impact, often can be, we think about impacting on your audience, which of course is important. It can also be, though, the impact on your artist that you're using and how it's going to forward their profession. So you can think about impact on a number of levels as well. Artistic merit, obviously, this is where the support material is so important. So you're going to want to make sure that not as always that it's like the best piece that you've ever created, but it's the most relevant piece to describe and to literally support the project that you're proposing. But you do want to spend some time thinking about what that is, and not just doing that at the end of the whole application process. We now are online. Our online granting program is called NOVA, and everything is applied now to the Ontario Arts Council through NOVA. So you need to have a profile in order to be able to access the applications. Once you do that, you'll see what applications are open. So we open our applications 2 months before deadline, so you have 2 months to look through it, work on it periodically up until the deadline, and there's no harm in submitting early. That's fine too. But it does take a little while to get used to the system, like anything, and of course we're well happy to help with that. But again, if you call the day before the deadline, that might be a little bit challenging. So remember that you have 2 months to work on this, and we can help you walk you through it if there is either technical stuff or just not understanding the system. It's still a little bit new for all of us. And there's a few things that make it easier. Using Chrome, for instance, it works better. So there's a few tips. Get in there earlier. The other important thing to remember is that all of our deadlines are at 1 p.m. now, and it is a computer. So it just turns off at 1 p.m. So if you call me at 1:03, you say, oh, I just missed it more, can I get it in? I can't. It's a machine. And so just do bear that in mind. I would suggest thinking it's noon, or maybe even thinking it's the day before, just in case you do hit any, something's taking long, one of your pieces is taking longer to download than you expected. If 1 p.m. comes and goes, that's the deadline on it. But yeah, I think the important thing there is just to call if you have any questions. Oh, there it is again. Yes. So once the deadline closes at 1 p.m., then we look at what's been and what's coming through at that deadline. If it's a multidisciplinary panel, we might see, is there a dance application here? Is there music? Is there what parts of the province are represented in this pool of applicants, et cetera, et cetera. We look through all that in order to put together our jury. So we make invitations then based on who we think needs to be around the table in terms of expertise, knowledge, first-hand experience of a region, of a discipline, of a kind of activity that you're proposing. And we invite usually 5 jurors from different parts of the province. Again, different ages, we do try to have a good mix of different kinds of perspectives that will be able to balance each other out through the discussion and bring the appropriate knowledge. At that point, assuming that they don't have conflicts of interest, which we do have to consider as well, then they are given access to your applications. They read them all, they look at your support material, or they listen to the support material, and then most often we bring them together into a room and they discuss each one. Each person speaks about each application one by one, and they make their decisions. So I echo what Liz said too, that if you are not successful, it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't like the project. It could be a simple thing like you forgot some information, or one part wasn't clear, or it could just be that unfortunately the money ran out and yours was just a little bit further down. And all of that is things that we can help you with in terms of preparing another application. Or maybe it's, this project wasn't a great fit for this program. It would fit better over here. That kind of thing. We that's a big part of what we do. And I would say it's one of the most fulfilling parts of what we do is helping the backstage. Yeah, you get your notices 4 months after the deadline and call for the feedback, whether you're successful or not. And then these are just some funny tips, although they are real. So start early, always get someone else to read it. You're so immersed in your own projects that you're going to want to make sure that it makes sense to someone who isn't in the middle of it. And especially if you're doing your support material early, doing the budget early too, just to make sure it's working and makes sense, especially if you're not super comfortable. And please don't hesitate to call, and please don't lose hope. It can be discouraging, but hopefully it's also very encouraging sometimes. Okay, and I'm going to pass it to Nora to talk about a couple specific projects.
Or I can just do a song and dances and talk, whatever. So I am Nora Sagarwala. I'm the Touring and Audience Development Officer at the Ontario Arts Council. They're probably going to tack on market development to that as well. So if you want to move your work around the province, out of the country perhaps, you can apply to one of the programs in my office. The biggest program is touring projects. The way the OAC defines a tour is having at least three engagements that are outside of your home city. If you're doing school touring, you can do touring within your home city, but the idea is you have at least 3 engagements. So that means you have 3 contracts with different presenters and different venues, potentially in different cities. What you don't need to worry about is that it doesn't have to be a consecutive tour, or it doesn't have to be contiguous touring, so it's not, they could be 3 engagements happening at different times of year. It can be 3 different works that are touring. The idea is as long as you have 3 engagements, you can apply. It's a multidisciplinary program, so it's open to music, dance, theater, visual art, media art, literature. So any of the arts that are supported by the OAC. And the idea with a touring grant, just so you're aware, is that you're getting a guaranteed fee from your presenter. Hopefully that fee is covering your artistic and production costs. And then the touring grant would kick in to cover your logistics. So things like travel, accommodation, per diem, freight, insurance, and marketing specific to the tour. So that's that. If you're successful in getting a touring grant, you're then able to cover your logistics, hopefully, and then use your guaranteed fee to actually pay your artists. You're not sort of out of pocket while you're touring, which can be really difficult, or you're not sort of deficit touring. So you're actually like spending money in order to get your work out there, which is an interesting strategy. Also in my office is national and international residency. So if you are a practicing artist planning to do a residency out of the province, you could come through that program. You could do up to 3 months of residency and get up to $10,000 towards, again, those logistics costs, travel, accommodation per diem, but also things like if you're paying a mentor or taking workshops or a conference fee like this, you wouldn't be able to use it for this because this is in the province, but if something similar was happening, like with UBC or something, you could go to like talking stick or something like that. Also, we've got a couple of new programs that are coming out of my office. Actually, I'm gonna go back. The other program that's going to be really of interest to you is called Ontario Arts Presenters. And that's a program that's specifically for volunteer-led groups. So you can be an ad hoc group, collective, or organization, but as long as you're volunteer-led in that you don't have professional artistic curator or programmer, usually it's sort of a volunteer committee that's booking the work, you can apply to that program, and it will support things like your artist fees and your production costs and your venue costs, which is really great. As long as in all of our programs at OEC, the expectation is that you are paying professional artists fees that are in accordance with industry standards. So you're looking to things like CARFAC or the TMA, or so any of those sort of those ASOs or unions that are set in standards, and we're aware that that's maybe not, there aren't always standards depending on the artistic discipline you're working in, but I think it's really important to at least be aware of what the scale is and then be able to reference it as sort of the starting point. So in Ontario Arts Presenters, we fund all kinds of things. I know Pied Piper is in the room. Woo! So they're doing a children's series, and that gets funded, and a number of those present. I've actually pulled them out of the program, which I'll tell you about. But the idea is, they're volunteer-based groups. They come to the OAC. They can apply to up to $7,500 towards their programming. This particular circuit of Northern Young Audience Presenters that I'm talking about has been applying to the OAC from time, and typically, between the 11 or 12 of them have consistently gotten, $50,000 to $60,000 from the program. And that allows all of this amazing work to come from Northern Ontario for families and children. There's also the older entertainment series. In my office, I get my applicants from like Atikokan and Geraldton and Kirkland Lake and, all those guys. Check me out in my Ontario geography. I'm a big city girl, so if you didn't catch that. So a couple more things I'll mention. In my office, I also have audience development programs, and that's when we're working with a cohort of presenters, a group of presenters, to ensure that Ontario produced work can move through the province. So right now we have Ontario Dances, which is in the dance office, but in my office we have Theatre Connects, which is independent English theater moving through sort of some of the municipal venues. We also have Connexion Théâtre, which is the French counterpart, so moving French theater. And now we have the Northern Young Audience Circuit, which is going to be young audience work. New in my office are 2 market development programs. So just to be clear, market development is really about, if you're an artist, it's about getting your work in front of potential presenters. So people who might buy your work and present your work, or be able to like provide distribution channels, depending on the type of, I have to speak in generally because it's different for each artistic discipline. So if you're, let's say, a novelist, that type of presenter is going to look different. It might be a publisher or a distributor, as opposed to a festival or a venue presenter. But the idea is, if you want to get your work out into the marketplace, there is support for that now, or there will be as of November 1st. There's a new program called Market Development Projects, and that's really intended to, if you have, for example, a showcase opportunity at Ontario Contact, and that's something that you wouldn't be able to go to the touring program for because it's an industry event, it's industry facing. You could come to market development now and get support for your group to be showcased at Ontario Contact. You could use a presentation opportunity to then invite presenters and provide them with a subsidy to help cover some of their logistics costs, to get them to come out and see your work. We'll also be doing things like putting together delegations that'll be going to different international marketplaces. For example, we're taking a group to Canada Hub at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival this August as well. So there's some really cool new things that are developing. We're going to be doing a pitch session for young audience producers. That's going to happen at Contact this year, so you'll see a call for pitches going out soon. So if any of this, right, I have another program I talked about. Last one. The last one is Market Development Travel, which is a micro-granting program. So this is, if you're going to something like Contact or SPARC or APAP, that is, that chop's yelling at me. If you're going to go as an individual, it's a micro grant, a travel subsidy just for you to help you cover your costs. There's no budget you have to put in. It's really just like, I'm an artist, this is my work, and this is where I want to go. These are the presenters I'm going to see. And then you get a fixed subsidy depending on where in the world you're traveling to. So you're going to see all of that roll out in the fall, which is really exciting. But I am here today and tomorrow. I have cards. If you want to talk to me specifically about any projects you have, if you're thinking about your first touring grant, it's a little scary, please do chat with me. As Maura mentioned, the officers are really a resource for you. We get paid, it's public money, we're getting paid by the government, to be here to be a resource for you. So you can bring us your projects and we can, apply our expertise and help you sort of shape it or point you in the right direction in terms of the program. So use us. If you're not successful, get feedback and try again and again, because sometimes it doesn't happen the first time out, but just so you know, it totally can as well. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it with that, but please do connect with me, and I'm happy to have a deeper chat.
Thanks, Laura. One of the great joys of applying for grants is you get to talk and get to know these incredible people behind the scenes. Who wants to be all artists themselves who understand the journey. And I always tell when I'm teaching this stuff to my students, like grant officers are people too. So it'd be nice you're a grant officer. Those who can't. Yes, and yours says those who can't grant. Yes. The kitchen has requested that we take a 5-minute break for dessert. So, and then the folks from Canadian Heritage will be the icing on top. Okay? So I'll see you back in 5. Is that right?
And if you're done with any of your plates that are currently on your table, you can take them over to the kitchen, or just step away from your table so that folks can pick them up.